It matters because that's the core of the fucking game, is to kill somebody. I mean, it seems like it goes without saying. When you have game types like domination, where the focus is on capturing objectives versus, say, straight up kills, you should be putting those objectives ahead of your KD, but that doesn't mean that KD doesn't mean fucking jack shit. And like I said, we already did that series of videos in Modern Warfare 3 where we showed it's possible to do it without killing anybody. And that can't be the case. Deaths have to matter. But in a game that is a TDM-style game that is designed from the ground up to have as many skill equalizers in it as possible, people are going to be the biggest shitbirds in order to make their KDs as good as possible. This game seems like so far people's KDs are less than what they were with Modern Warfare 3. I don't know if it's going to be that way as time goes on, but I can't imagine it's going to vastly improve, and people are going to be like, oh, this is how the game's going to be played. We've got I mean, in another 2 weeks, people are going to be spamming fucking cloak, and they're going to have all the greatest camp spots down. They're going to be sitting up in the windmills and yada yada yada. It's ridiculous. As far as BF 1942, the top 2 most played games at the time were COD and it was BF 1942. So, cram it up your cram hole. Why don't I play TDM? Like Team Deathmatch, the game type? Is that what you're asking about? Have I tried camping? Well, I mean, if you slow down the game and you want to ADS and yada yada, it works well, yeah. You can't, it's no one factor that's going to get rid of the camping. Like I said, it's the ground up, the way the game is designed. So it's no one factor. So you'd have to change everything. It's no one factor. But it's interesting, the whole movement that's come around in the last couple of years where people are like, oh, it's COD, don't worry about your KD ratio. It is very interesting. Did I ever acquire skill? I acquired skill when I used the laser gun, is what it felt like. Oh, yeah, I can play Vietnam on there. I just haven't done anything with it. The ratio's all goofy. It's like 800 by 600. 10 out of 10 IGN. 10 out of 10 IGN. The games this year have been very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. The most fun I've had this year playing games has probably been... God, do we even want to say what the most fun I've had playing games has been? Like, fucking Naruto? What? I mean... How pathetic is that? How fucking pathetic. I wish I could go back and talk to my 18-year-old self. You know, when I was fucking scrimming 5 days a week and doing all these fucking world championship matches and be like, just fucking stop now because you'll never be like this ever again. It's going to be 2014 and you're going to have Alien Isolation and then you're going to come into The Evil Within with fucking black bars of greatness, 30 FPS, nonsensical storyline. Advanced Modern Warfare where a 4-to-1 KD ratio was just too much to handle in Modern Warfare 3, so they had to drop down to a good KD, and this game is 2-to-1. With cloaking. Gotta have fucking cloaking and death QTEs. It's fucking ridiculous. No, I wouldn't have believed it. I would never believe it. Why don't I play Counter-Strike? I don't think there's any big reason why I haven't played Counter-Strike other than back in the day, before CS was around, I was really big into Quake. And so it was all about Quake. And I really enjoyed that. Before Quake, it was Blood. So every FPS that had existed up until that point had always been a TDM-styled shooter. And I just fucking lost myself when Battlefield came out because it was something new and it was refreshing. It had vehicles and planes and these guys were running around, and it was a different approach to FPS style. It wasn't rocket jumps and shooting rockets at people's feet and lobbing fucking impossible grenade shots and railguns. It was something fresh and new, and Counter-Strike was exceptionally popular, extraordinarily popular. Like 5 times as popular as Battlefield was, maybe more. I can't remember what the player counts were. But I remember BF had, I remember in Cal, like BF had 3 leagues. It had like the Open, Premier, whatever league. And then I think like Counter Strike at the time had like 7 leagues. So the more people you have, the more leagues you have. It was so refreshing and it was so fun. And that was basically why. It was kind of like a friendly rivalry with the CS and the BF at the time. And some of the guys, I remember like as a Team 3D tried to come over to BF and they didn't do very well. And I think most of the people that were really big on BF had just kind of got burnt out on the TDM styled shooters. So CS to me is essentially unchanged from what it was 10 years ago. I just explained it, Dur. Too much TDM. Too much TDM. Um, so I really don't have any desire. If I feel like I pick up CS now, not that it's a bad game, it's probably the most skill-based FPS that's out there right now, and it does fairly well on Twitch. I just have so burnt out on the TDM style games. I don't. Oh, looks like we're getting tased on the old Comcast juice. I don't know. I don't want to step back in time and go back 10 years. I want to go forward. So, in my eye, I mean, in my mind, the future of shooters, the future of any competitive shooters are fucking dead unless you refuse to give up basically the same CS that's been around for the last 10 plus years. CDS is a TDM styled shooter. You can go read the articles how I explain that. It's not a conquest styled shooter. It's a TDM style shooter. My future, the way I see FPS gaming, is have nothing to do with CS. Has nothing to do with COD. Is going to be something along the lines of just blur genres that much harder. Never good at the aiming business. I've already seen how to do it. Chozo Lord, it doesn't work. I can't get it to work. There's TDM style games and there's conquest style games. And basically Battlefield is the only conquest style game that's ever been around. And the Battlefield today, let's not go into all the details of why blah 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 today isn't the BF of yore. But regardless of the objective that you're playing in the given game, the game is designed from the ground up for a TDM styled shooter. A conquest style game has larger maps. You've got the whole conquest style system of running around on the larger maps and capturing points and yada yada yada. You typically have vehicles involved. Regardless of the objective you have going on CS, it's still a TDM style game. It's how the levels are designed, it's how the maps are created, it's the way that the guns work, it's the lack of everything else that we just explained that is involved in the conquest style games, etc., etc., etc. Doesn't matter if you play fucking Search and Destroy or whatever the fuck it is, it's still a TDM style game. You can insert different fucking adjectives here to describe whatever it is you're trying to how it is you want to paint that genre or style of game in your head, but it's definitely not a conquest style game. So whatever it is you want to call it, semantics at that point. uh, They are. I'm not saying that they're dead, Delman. I just don't see that as being the future of gaming. That's basically how it is. Like I said, the future of gaming in general is genre blending, right? Like that's the whole thing is, and it's harder to realize. I don't know what the average age of chat is. Every time when then we ask, average age of chat usually seems like it's I don't know, low 20s, late teens. So if you've never played, if you didn't come from an era where you played, Blood and Quake for fucking days, like it wouldn't be as obvious now to see the FPS genre blending or the genre blending that's going on in general wouldn't be as noticeable. But the fact that something like Daisy exists or the Armor 3 fucking mods with whatchamacallit, Breaking Point, yada yada yada, it's just the future is genre blending that much harder. And the days of any type of solid, any singular genre that is just cemented in place, and that's the only genre that game consists of, is just going the way of the dodo. So That's what's going on. It's fun to play other. It's not going to, you know what I mean? It's fun. It's fun to have FPS shooters that have RPG like qualities to them, and the whole sandbox style thing has so much way to go. Obviously, like the whole DayZ thing is fucking shit. It looks like ass. The zombies are all fucked up. But that sandbox style open world survival fucking RPG late game element stats blah 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 seems to be the way things are going, regardless if that's the actual game that ends up being played out. But 10 years down the road, I don't see people playing. Well, I see that. I don't want to say I don't see people playing COD because COD is such a fucking juggernaut. It's hard to see when it's going to crash. But I at least see other genres competing with it on that level, say 10 years down the road. Oh yeah, The Division. Yeah, Ubisoft has a great fucking track record. I admit The Division looks incredible, but um, man, Ubisoft does not have a great track record right now. But The Division could be good, The Division could be bad. But something like that looks like it'll be the way of the future. John Carmack is stuck in the late 1980s as far as his view on the FPS genre goes. He is completely out of fucking whack with where things are at. I mean, Rage was supposed to be this big thing. It was this massive, massive, massive flop. People need to get rid of the idea of any type of skill-based FPS coming around and just commit themselves to whatever it is, adventure style, fucking RPG, whatever you want to call it, action blend game. But John Carmack is totally stuck in the fucking 80s with his, you know, the idea of people, gosh, what is his name, who just fucking shit on everybody in all the Quake tournaments. I can't think of his name. The guy who went on and developed that program. I can't think of anything right now. God, what was his fucking Thresh? There you go. Who fucking won his Ferrari and did all that stuff. Like, that was the pinnacle of John Carmack's career, is giving his Ferrari away to some guy who trashed his competitor, you know, like 20 to fucking -7. Thresh is way before Fatality. Fatality is like fucking painkiller and garbage like that. I'm not saying it won't ganger, it could be, but it's not going to be it's not going to be it's not going to be COD. And I feel like the genre blending that already exists within the realm of a conquest-based shooter is something that needs to be explored in the future. But Battlefield or EA, DICE, whoever you want to fucking say it, has this hard on for wanting to emulate COD as much as possible instead of creating their own niche, because it's just a safer route that way to try to emulate fucking COD than it is to create their own niche of a conquest style game and blend genres. So just seems to be the way that it's going. So you lose out on a conquest style game and you get the same COD year after year, and you wait for somebody to get the DayZ formula right, and in the meantime you play Naruto. I mean, is that where the fuck we're at right now? Is that where we're at? Um, so, and I apologize because, like I said, I'm sort of leaving the CS crowd out of this because the CS crowd, like I said, I've never been part of the CS crowd, so I am very ignorant as far as the CS thing goes. Other than dabbling with it, I've never played it competitively, and I'm not playing it now, and I already explained why. But so I am leaving that out. If you are still on the CS thing, you do have some competitive FPS going. I just think that it needs to evolve because it's not fun anymore. I guess I don't know. Fun factor to me is number one above everything else. Fun factor is always number one, and fun factor used to be fun factor at the time. There wasn't a lot to choose from at the time. So fun factor used to be enjoying the ability to consistently perform well in every single round, regardless of the circumstances. Sometimes you did better, sometimes you did worse, but we talked about KDs before, and so KDs would range anywhere from, say, 15 to 80 to 1, and that was satisfying, and that was fun to consistently perform well and feel like people have no fucking chance in hell of coming anywhere close to touching you. And fun factor now, because that to me doesn't exist anymore, Fun factor now is just trying to make the best of a shitty situation. And as far as a game like COD goes, and branching out and trying new things as far as, well, hopefully fucking Dragon Age Inquisition isn't going to be garbage. Naruto, whatever. Just trying to have fun in a different way, I suppose. Do I have a 64? Yes, I have a 64. I don't think I've plugged it in. I don't even know if it's possible to plug in anymore. No, I didn't do Quake CPMA. Haven't played enough Destiny to tell you. Maybe, you know, the other possibility too, actually, you know, I'm going to bring up this, see if I can bring up this video real quick. I think I've got it saved here somewhere. Do I not have it saved? Okay, so we've talked about a lot of bullshit, right, just now? So hold on, let me bring up, see if I can find this video. Somebody linked it to me last time. What is it? The Steam Box controller. Counter-Strike. No, fuck, what the hell is it? Hands-on impressions? I don't know. It was a dev.
Now.
CMAX controller.
Type, you know, from a thumb around. Keyboard
No. Fuck, I don't know where that video is. I don't know where the video is. It was a hands-on impression with the Steambox controller. And anyway, I'm looking for the video. If you guys can find the video, let me know. If you guys can find it, let me know. I'll look it up. But the one, okay, so as far as like the potential, the future for a competitive FPS-based shooter in the anytime down the pipeline, I feel like the Steambox, if the Steambox comes out and has an acceptable way of catering to the couch potatoes and giving them a controller that adequately performs as far as has some hope of competing with the mouse and keyboard, then I feel like that would be a possibility as far as revitalizing that kind of genre. You've got to build a bigger player base on PCs. There's just not a big enough player base. It really sucks having to make the choice between peer-to-peer mouse and keyboard and a small console base, or I'm sorry, small player size, or a large player base and peer-to-peer controller. So fuck. It sucks that that's the choice. And if there was an ability to go around that and everybody was picking up their PC again and no longer was the soup du jour shitty PC ports, if that was no longer the common occurrence or the pattern, I mean, all sorts of stuff could be. I mean, who knows? Friendly AI. I don't know if this is it. I know there's
very mouse-driven trackpad. If you try this, I think you just go and there's a mouse.
There was one that had. There was one by one of the. I feel like it was by the Steam guys.
Welcome
so.
To friendly AI. Good. But but instead of
Yeah, that's not gonna do it. That's not good enough. The Steam box hasn't even been launched yet, Chozo. So. Can't drop the ball before it comes out. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The controller looks amazing. Let's find something. Hold on, let's find something. Hold on. I gotta at least show you guys something. Steam box controller. There's IGN, Rooster Teeth.
Additional commitment to the in the game. It's moving on to what you end up.
She's a fucking gamer, by the way.
Crossing,
this chick is a gamer.
You play and though a release the biggest on the.
Okay, that definitely didn't show you anything there.
Right way, critical. Received.
Here's
That's pretty fucking worthless. There's the Valve
Hi,
video.
this is Jeff Bellinghausen. I'm one
Thank
of the
you,
engineers
Jesus
at Valve
Christ.
working on the controller project. We wanted to put together a gameplay video that shows how the controller these updates pretty frequently.
Okay, so check this out. This controller has obviously undergone some designs as far as button placement and things like that. But just look at what we're looking for is responsiveness and then the ability, like I said, to compete. I mean, people had commented on it in chat about 1,000,001 times, right? As far as how fast-paced the PC compares, the PC appears relative to the consoles because of the look speed. So you're looking for something that has to be exceptionally responsive in order to remotely compete with somebody that has uncapped look speed. That is both. Okay, so this is something I just want to harp on real quick. This is why, gosh, I have so much to say. I think you guys can see my controller, my pointer here. This is why the Zim connectors will never ever work for anybody who's adept at a mouse and keyboard. So, and then we'll go back into the Steambox thing real quick. But okay, so console look speed is capped two different ways. Okay, console speed is capped when you move your cursor from left to right like this, left to right, and then right to left. Okay. So it's capped left to right and left to right and right to left. But there's also another speed. There's also a delay built in, not only when you're going from left to right, but there's a delay when you want to switch back and go then from right to left. So there's basically two delays that are happening. One is just going in any direction, period. You can never turn, you'll never be able to turn or look. I should have different terms to define them to ease out on the confusion. You'll never be able to look in any direction as fast as somebody can move with a mouse. But you'll also never be able to turn, and I guess if we're defining turn is the ability to go from one direction to the next, you can never turn as fast as somebody because there's that delay that happens when you're going from one direction to the next as well. But on PC, there's obviously no fucking delay whatsoever, which is why you can't play with a controller hooked up to a, which is why you can't play with a mouse and keyboard hooked up to a Zim connector, because the your movement speed on your mouse and keyboard moves so fast that it errors out and it grays out because you've surpassed that capped look speed on the console. It doesn't matter how great the device is that connects to the actual console itself. The speed with your mouse is going way too fast for the console to actually comprehend, regardless of what Zim you're using or custom hardware, whatever the fuck it is. So it will never ever work. I tried that Zim 3. It didn't work for that very reason. Anyway, that is why the idea of a fucking controller for the couch potatoes is such a big deal, because if you can make it responsive and you don't have to dumb down the look speed for people using them, then you've just potentially opened yourself up to a player base that's gone from 50,000 to upwards of 1,000,000. Also, then I also like, I mean, or even more, I mean, imagine if this controller is successful and people like the idea of a Steambox, you could potentially shut down fucking consoles, and then we all have the exact same. I mean, imagine if all of us were playing on the same system when we had the biggest fucking player base of all time. We no longer had to compete for exclusive titles. You no longer had to buy a system, same system that your friend has, or buy a game for both systems, or God, it would be so fucking amazing. So fucking amazing.
If you have any questions about what you're seeing here, about any other types of games you'd like to see, go ahead and let us know in the comments. So the first game we're going to show you is Portal 2. One of the most important features of the controller is that the two trackpads are fully configurable. What we're showing here is what we call Legacy Mode, which is playing a game that hasn't been modified at all to support the controller. So this is just standard keyboard and mouse style Portal 2. But the controller is acting like a mouse and keyboard and is mapped to output keyboard events that Portal expects. Since the two trackpads can be configured independently, we use the right-hand pad here to do a one-to-one view control mode. It's important to distinguish between a joystick, which does a relative or velocity-based movement, and this one-to-one mode where you directly move your thumb a fixed amount of distance on the pad, and the view will correspond with the fixed amount of distance. At the same time, the left pad is configured like a D-pad where it's divided up into pie-shaped segments where up and down is the W and S keys, and left and right are the A and D keys, so you can walk around like you would with a walk joystick.
You are not alone. All Aperture Science.
The next game we wanted to show you is Civilization.
Well, Mitzwarger, I don't know what the impact of this will be, but I will be promoting it as hard as I possibly can. Not that that means fucking shit with 22,000 YouTube subscribers. But I really, really hope that other people realize the significance that this could have on all of our gaming careers. Like, that controller and the Steambox have the potential to completely revolutionize our gaming as we know it. We could all be on the same systems. Like I said, we could have couch potatoes, a mouse and keyboard. We could end the fucking argument. You can play with your fucking controller if you want to, or you can play at a desk with a mouse and keyboard. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be Shangri fucking Law over here. Shangri motherfucking Law. Well, the Ganger World, that's another possibility, like you said. So if this controller works out well, this could be, obviously, reverse engineer, whatever. Sony and Microsoft may do their thing and reverse engineer it, blah, 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 and try to use a controller like this and uncap the look speed, etc., etc., etc. But if Sony and Microsoft go on and try to reverse engineer this controller and create a similar controller for their systems with the expectation that they're going to uncap look speeds and promote a mouse and keyboard, at that point in time, it should be patently clear to everybody that there is no difference in a console at that point in time than a fucking computer system, and there should be no reason to buy a console versus a computer ever again. So, I mean, I am dreaming a bit, Crippers. I am dreaming, so I'm hoping that that's the way it works out. Consoles are pretty cemented right now, but what's exciting is that we already have very, very, very large hardware gaps right now between computers and the next-gen consoles. We're going to have hardware gaps, and the next year we'll have hardware gaps that are coming close to the hardware gaps we had at the end of the previous generation's consoles' life cycles. So, in order to design the idea of being able to build a gaming station that does nothing but play games, has got to change. Either they've got to build something that is multiple orders of magnitude more powerful, or they have got to get rid of them. So I feel like there's going to be pressure from multiple different fronts. You've got pressure from the Steambox and this controller that's promoting this uncapped look speed and the centralization of a player base onto the PC. And then you've also got that large hardware gap that is, like I said, large hardware gap that's going on right now with the next-gen consoles and PCs. Like I said, that is rubbing shoulders with the hardware gap that was there at the previous generations, the end of the previous generation's life cycle. It's not going to happen overnight, Metzwager. I don't think it's going to happen overnight.